Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who all learn this truth and hold the rule well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000, the rest of the elect. Unto you I say shalom. Coming to you back with another lesson through the Spirit. Now I'm entitled this one, Esau is showing his horns. And who is Esau? Edom, in the scriptures in the Bible, will be no other than a self-proclaimed white man. The self-proclaimed white man, because ultimately he gave himself that title to disguise himself as the top people on the planet Earth, the best genetics, the highest IQ. Ultimately because they've been deceiving the whole world that really they're the true chosen people of the Most High, the true chosen people of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, especially the people over there in the Holy Land with the tiny caps, with the small hats, which are really the Amalekites that you can't talk about, or you get canceled, you get your stuff deleted, you get your bank accounts wiped out. So ultimately the whole world's starting to realize, okay, this devil, the so-called white man, Esau, Edom, he don't have our best interest. Because for years, decades, here in America, people really believe that these politicians was formed, that the presidents had the best interest of the people, that we should vote Democrat, we should vote Republican. But like the scripture says, he came like let me get it real quick, I don't want to butcher it. Because Esau, Edom, he's deceived the world to believe that he's really for the people, but now he's just telling these Babylonians, these Americans, straight up, like, man, the best interest is for y'all, is for the state of Israel, the tiny hats, the elite banking families, and the lesser luminaries. But other than that, these devils, they don't have the best interests of these Americans, these Babylonians, the people in the world. But the world was fooled because of the witchcraft, the psyops. So people really believe that, oh man, these politicians are for us. They came from the same city from us. All psyops to deceive the world that, oh man, these so-called white people, they're really for us. This is Revelation chapter 13 and verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And what's that beast? The last beast that we're living in. This current beast system, NATO and the EU. America being that harlot that rides upon a beast. And it's to the point where we're basically, we're just in a revived Roman Empire. In the same way that the ancient Roman Empire 2,000 years ago collapsed, is the same thing happening again. America's making enemies out of its allies, is devaluating its currency. You got bread and circus being pushed out. Morality's at an all-time low, because ultimately this current kingdom being ran by Esau, Edom, it's on its way out. But these people still have that hope that, oh man, we need a righteous president in there so he can fix the economy and the way that people are. No, man, this world's through. It's collapsed and it's not going to come back. But these people are going to have to find out the hard way, because our people, they're not going to listen. It don't matter how many you tell them that Esau, Edom is their enemy, that you shouldn't trust in them. And then you have these red-blooded Edomites, the maggers that still choose to trust in Trump. This is Psalms 55 and verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. And that's how he deceived a huge amount, a large portion of the population. by his smooth words, telling the people, especially with this guy Trump, Nero 47, 2 years ago, when he really duped, these Babylonians, these Maggers, these red-blooded Edomites, these Republicans, that, oh yeah, I'm gonna fix the economy, I'm gonna put all these tariffs on all these countries, and it's gonna benefit us because all these nations have been leeching off us, when really it's been the complete opposite. America's the one that's been leeching off of all these countries, taking, not giving anything back. So now all these nations are starting to realize, man, this devil, the so-called white man, he's full of shit. He doesn't have the interest of the other nations. He doesn't have the interest of these citizens or these civilians. No, he only has the interest of the top wicked elite banking families, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers. So ultimately it's to the point where he's just gonna start speaking like a dragon. He's just gonna start showing his horns, and he's starting to do that. Telling these Americans, these Babylonians, man, if you don't want to get with it, you're gonna get put to death. Especially with what happened over there in Minneapolis a couple weeks ago. It's only gonna ramp up more and more because, like it says, but war was in his heart. That's what he wants. He wants all hell to break loose. He wants people to incite riots and start a civil war, because that's the spirit of Esau, Edom. His spirit isn't to create peace and safety. And if he does, it's just an illusion for another snare and trap that he's about to put. This is Psalms chapter 14 and verse 1. To the chief musician, a psalm of David, the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none that doeth good. And you got these Edomites, these Amalekites over there in the WF, in Davos, Switzerland, just straight up saying, that they're, we don't need a God. The God is dead. We're the new rulers of the planet Earth. Trusting us, trusting our technology and our pseudoscience. That's what they're saying. Yuval, Noah, Harari, whatever that devil's name is. He's straight up saying, we could be the Most High. We don't need Yahweh Bashim Shah. We could create our own water. We could create our own food. We could create our own version of humanity. And that's what they're pushing. But yet, people are looking at what these devils are speaking as no big deal. Verse 2, the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai looked down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there was any that did understand and seek the Most High. And majority of the planet Earth, or really majority of our people, the Israelites, the 2/3 that comprises of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, they're not looking for Yahweh Bashim Shai. And if they are looking, like it says in the Romans chapter 11 and verse 7, only the elect are going to find the true knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, because you have our people involved in all these different ideologies, philosophies, Christianity, Buddha, Islam, patronism, and all sorts of madness that doesn't lead to the true knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, to who the devil really is, that Esau, Edom is our number one enemy, that these heathen nations don't care about us, that ultimately America is going to be destroyed by the way of thermonuclear missiles. Verse 3, they are all gone aside. They are altogether become filthy. There is none that doeth good, no, not one. So now there's no such thing as a righteous Edomite, because that's the hope in these people, that somehow a righteous Edomite is going to get in there and fix the economy up. He's going to do away with GMO foods. He's going to do away with polluted water, and he's going to push the law, statutes, commandments at the forefront. No, this devil don't do that, but that's how he deceived these Americans, these Babylonians, by the way of, oh yeah, we're Christians, we're going to push Christianity at the forefront. When really Christianity has done nothing but rob, pillage, rape, murder throughout the entire planet Earth, using that racial pseudoscience that the Edomites are the number one race on the planet Earth. This is Jeremiah chapter 13 and verse 23. Can the Ethiopian change his skin, or the leopard his spots? Then then may ye also do good that are accustomed to do evil. So Esau, Edom, he can't change his ways. But he hit it. He hit it well. Back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, he got that white grin on his face when you walk by him. And then, boom, he goes back home and calls you a nigger, a spick, a tomahawk, all these bywords and nicknames that Esau, Edom has given to our people because he hates us. So Esau, Edom, he's not meant to rule righteously up on the planet Earth. He's not meant to rule in righteousness. The Esau, Edom ultimately was set up to be an example of what happens and what are going to be the consequences if you rule in wickedness. If you put the people's, the Lord's chosen people under subjection and you go way past to what they had to go through. So America is going to be made a living example. It's going to be a altar, and it's going to be destroyed and lit on fire by the way of those intercontinental ballistic missiles. And then along with that, the 2/3 of our people to refuse to believe that Esau, Edom doesn't have their best interests. They're going to be left here and be burnt up. This is Sirach, also known as Ecclesiasticus chapter 12 and verse 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. And a important part is knowing who your enemy is. Knowing that the Edomites, Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white people, they don't care about us. They don't care about the Israelites, along with these other heathen nations. But our people, they don't consider these things. They think that, Joe Sixpack at the job is, maybe buddy with him right now. But when all hell breaks loose, these Edomites, they're going to show their true horns. They're going to be knocking at Jake's door. They're going to go to the hoods, like in the first Purge movie. Because ultimately Esau, Edom, he's not meant to be righteous. And our people are going to have to learn that the hard way, along with these red-blooded Edomites that claim that, we just need the right person in there and everything's going to go back to normal. Man, nothing's going to go back to normal because the wicked are in power. Verse 11, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, that thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass. Thou shalt know that his rust had not been altogether wiped away. And he did humble himself. I'm changed. I'm going to give y'all 40 acres in the move. I'm going to give y'all reparations. I'm going to fix the economy. He told these Edomites, I'm going to bring back the jobs. I'm going to deport all illegals and I'm going to make America great again. But now he's really showing his horns like, oh, man. These maggers, they're like, they feel like they've been stabbed in the back. They're like, damn, I thought he was for us. I thought he was going to fix the economy. He was going to deport all illegals and give us our jobs back. But he's doing the complete opposite. He just straight up stabbed all these maggers in the back, stabbed his own supporters. He's stabbing the lower level Edomite right in the back. This is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 8. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord Yahweh Bashmal Shah shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. And how is Esau, Edom being exposed to the world of who he really is, what his goals really are, the NWO, to micro C-hip everybody. Ultimately, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmal Shah that has been poured out upon his prophets in these last days, pertaining to Revelation chapter 11, Ezekiel 37, those dry bones are calling out the devil, the so-called white man, Esau, even who he really is, what his plans really are, which is ultimately to enslave humanity under a digital prison, by putting that RFID micro C here, which is the MOTB. Now the whole world is starting to find out, damn, this is the devil, the so-called white man. But majority of the world, they're just going to have to find out, when he comes down upon him with that sword. Verse 9, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all the power and signs and lying wonders. Telling these people that, I have y'all best interest. I'm going to give y'all better jobs. I'm going to fix the economy. I'm gonna make inflation go down. Take this jump shot. It's for your good. Yo, who's at the forefront of that? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. Telling people that I have y'all best interests. Trust in me. Trust in the science. Trust in this. Trust in that. And where has it gotten them? Nowhere. Verse 10, and with all deceitfulness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. So majority of our people of the nation of Israel, the 2/3, they ain't received the true knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. That's why they can't understand that this devil is not for them. That this so-called white man is not for the nation of Israel. Is not for this for our people. Verse 11, and for this cause Yahweh Bashim Shai shall send them a strong delusion, that they should believe a lie. Believing in the system, believing in the philosophies of Babylon. If you work hard, you get be equal with Esau, Edom, the whole American dream, psyop that fooled the entire earth. You go to college, you graduate, you find a job, you get a wife, you get the kids, you retire. Maybe you work hard enough, you get to retire early. That's all bullshit. This is verse 12. That they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. Yeah, and majority of the earth, they got pleasure in unrighteousness. They got pleasure in Esau, Edom being in power. That's why they don't want them down, because what this devil pushes is that do as thou wilt spirit. You can do whatever you want. You can be whatever you want, especially here in America, Babylon the Great. And people have got accustomed to that. So they don't want, a righteous rulership where the law, statute, commandments going to be at the forefront. The nation of Israel is going to be in a top position. This is Revelation chapter 12 and verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he had but a short time. So that's why he's doing what he's doing, showing his horns, straight up telling the people, I'm gonna come down on y'all if y'all don't get down with this system. Y'all better comply with these Gestapo troops, aka ICE agents. So it's to the point where these people, they're gonna be through. But it says rejoice ye in heaven. Who are the ones who are rejoicing? Or why this devil starting to come down with that great wrath? The elect of the nation of Israel. The prophets, the believers. While the rest of our people, the 2/3 and these heathens, they're bugging the hell out. And they're about to fuck around and find out that Esau, Edom, he's really the devil that the Bible speaks of. He was blessed with the sword. And they're about to find out the hard way. But that's pretty much the point. Pray this is edifying to the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh, Bashim Shai, Bashim Kakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who all in this truth from and who do it well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000. The rest of the elect. Unto you I say shalom.